Hello, I'm with Dan Pitt, who's the Executive Director of the Open Networking Foundation. Dan, thanks very much for joining us and for agreeing to answer a few questions.
My pleasure.
But in particular about software-defined networking, or SDN, which was first set up as an open interface technology. Now, why was this strategy chosen, and can you keep up this strategy in the face of so many proprietary vendors?
Well, Monik, if you consider all of the benefits, the well-known benefits of SDN, they all derive from having an open interface in networking equipment that did not exist before. By having an open interface into the equipment, you can move the control software out of the equipment and into a control plane running in ordinary computers, which means anybody can write it and the network operators can control it, and you can directly program it for the benefit of some kind of organizational objectives.
And how is the adoption of this technology proceeding? What are the highlights?
So the adoption of SDN is quite broad, but it's in different parts. Now, this first open interface said we separate control and forwarding, and they then have to communicate, and so we define the open flow protocol for that communication. There are alternative and legacy versions of communication of this sort, but I'll tell you what's happening. Everyone is adopting and proclaiming their adherence to SDN in general, and just about everybody we know is building in the standard protocols to make it happen. Now, this first interface is just the one between control and forwarding. There are more interesting ones above the control plane to the applications and the orchestration. We are also helping with that. That will be more varied because it's purely in software and it's easily iterated.
So we can now think about SDN as a done deal, conceptually at least?
I think the concept of separating forwarding from control is almost a done deal. What's not done is actually implementing it, changing the way organizations are structured, and really changing how people's skills are used in advancing IT in general and networking in particular.
Now, when you started up the ONF, it started as a fairly closed organization, but you've recently opened it to startups. What does that mean, and how does it work?
All we did was decide that startups that couldn't afford our standard membership fee of $30,000 a year could join for $1,000 a year, essentially 1/30th the regular price for the first 2 years of their incorporation. That started January 1. It's 3 months later. We've already had 20 companies sign up at this rate.
So a success then.
They're bringing new ideas all the time.
Okay, and finally, what are the big hills for the ONF now? What are the big challenges you face?
Well, our initiatives for 2014 address those challenges. The first one, we call it simple as ABC. A is advance open SDN. So we're really hammering on the importance of the open interfaces that are community controlled and not by a single source or single entity. The second is building real open flow. Let's make it easier for people to implement it and deploy it. So we're doing interoperability testing, proofs of concept, conformance testing, and a lot of work with the chip makers. And the third is connect users to SDN. This is where we are working with the services that are above an SDN infrastructure, such as Etsy NFV, OpenStack, and gosh, just about anything you would consider as an orchestration protocol for the benefit of some kind of organizational objective.
Sounds like you've been busy, and sounds like you've still got a lot to do.
We have a lot of work to do. It's great fun. It's satisfying work. We have moved very quickly, and so has the industry. Really, to just about everyone's surprise, they're really coming along. Despite the different approaches, we're climbing to the top of the same mountain, Monik, just taking some different paths.
Dan, thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure.